The lights in the Vraxian intelligence facility burned bright as Officer Malesh stared at the data screens. For 30 years, the Vraxian Empire had been watching humans spread across the galaxy. For 30 years, they had been confused by human military communications. But today, everything changed. "I have it," Malesh announced to his team. His scaled hands moved across the holographic display, pulling up charts and documents. "I finally understand their rank system." The other Vraxian officers gathered around. They had all spent years trying to decode how humans organized their military forces. It was important work. If war came, they needed to know who commanded the human ships and armies. Malesh pointed to the first chart. "These symbols on their uniforms tell us their rank. The more symbols, the higher the rank. Generals command many ships. Colonels command fewer. Captains command single vessels. Sergeants lead small ground units." The Vraxian commanders nodded. This made sense. Most species in the galaxy used similar systems. The strong commanded the weak. The experienced led the inexperienced. This was natural order. "But there is something strange," Malesh continued. He pulled up another screen filled with intercepted human communications. "There is one designation that appears constantly but does not fit the pattern." "What designation?" asked Commander Rakis, leader of the Vraxian war fleet. "They call this individual Doc," Malesh said slowly. "And I believe this is their most dangerous warrior class." Silence filled the room. Then Rakis laughed, a harsh sound like grinding stones. "You fear a human because of a name?" "Listen to their communications," Malesh insisted. He played several recordings. A human colonel's voice came through. "Don't make me get Doc involved." Another recording. A human soldier. "Nobody wants Doc angry." And another. "Doc will make you regret that." The laughter died. Rekis leaned forward. "What rank does this Doc hold?" "That is the problem," Malesh said. "According to our analysis, Doc holds no official rank. Yet even high-ranking officers show extreme deference. Even generals step aside when Doc gives orders." The implications troubled everyone in the room. A warrior so powerful that rank meant nothing. A soldier so feared that commanders obeyed without question. "Perhaps it is an elite unit," suggested another officer. "Like our Void Reapers. Or assassins," Rekis added. "Hidden warriors who do the tasks regular soldiers cannot." Malesh nodded. "That is our current theory. We believe humans maintain a secret warrior caste. They call them Doc, and these individuals answer to no formal command structure." Far across the galaxy, Corporal Doyon grunted in pain. The training exercise had gone wrong, and now he sat in the medical bay of the human vessel Indomitable. Blood seeped from a deep cut on his arm. "Hold still," said a calm voice. Doc Hyunwoo entered the room already pulling on medical gloves. He was a thin man in his 30s with kind eyes and a gentle smile. His uniform was clean but simple, marked only with medical insignia. "Is it bad, Doc?" Doyon asked nervously. "Let me see," Hyunwoo said, examining the wound carefully. His fingers were gentle but sure. "Not too bad. You'll need stitches, but you'll be fine." Doyon relaxed. If Doc said it would be fine, then it would be fine. Everyone knew that. Doc had been with the Indomitable for 5 years now, and he had saved dozens of lives. Maybe hundreds. "This might sting," Hyunwoo warned, preparing a local anesthetic. "But it will stop the pain so I can work. I trust you, Doc." Hyunwoo smiled at that. He had joined the military medical corps because he wanted to help people. Back on Earth, he had worked in a civilian hospital, but something about military service called to him. Not the fighting. He had no interest in combat. But the idea of being there when soldiers needed help most, that meant something to him. He carefully cleaned the wound, then began stitching. His hands moved with practiced precision, each stitch perfect. This was what he was good at. Not shooting weapons or flying ships, but healing. Putting people back together. "You hear about the new coffee blend in the canteen?" Doyon asked, trying to distract himself from the medical procedure. "Not yet," Hyunwoo said, focused on his work. "Is it good?" "Terrible," Doyon laughed, then winced. "Sorry, Doc. Don't apologize. Laughter is good for healing." Hyunwoo finished the last stitch and began bandaging the arm. "There, keep it clean and dry. Come back in 3 days so I can check on it." "Thanks, Doc. Just doing my job." Meanwhile, in Vraxian space, Malesh continued his presentation. He had compiled hundreds of references to Doc from intercepted human communications. The pattern was clear and disturbing. "Look at this," he told the War Council. "A human captain reports equipment failure and says, Get me an engineer before Doc finds out. Why would a warrior care about equipment? Perhaps their warriors maintain their own weapons? Suggested one council member. Or perhaps, Freckis said slowly, they are so dedicated to combat that even mechanical failures offend them. Warriors who demand perfection in all things. Melesh pulled up another communication. Here, a human admiral writes, Doc's recommendations are mandatory for all personnel. Not requests. Not suggestions. Mandatory orders from someone with no official rank. The council members exchanged worried glances. This was highly unusual. In Vraxian culture, rank determined everything. The strong commanded, the weak obeyed. But humans seemed to have warriors who existed outside this structure. Warriors so respected that even admirals followed their commands. What do we know about their training? Freckis asked. Very little, Melesh admitted. But we found one communication that suggests they undergo extreme conditioning. A human sergeant wrote, Doc says I need to build up my immune system. Whatever their training involves. It includes biological enhancement. Back on the Indomitable, Hyunwoo finished his shift and headed to his small quarters. He was tired. Medical work on a starship was never easy, and today had been particularly busy. 3 soldiers with training injuries, 1 engineer with a bad reaction to alien food, and 2 crew members with space flu. He sat down at his small desk and opened his personal terminal. A message from his mother waited there, asking how he was doing and when he would visit home. He smiled and began typing a response. I'm good, Mom. Work keeps me busy, but I love what I do. I helped a young corporal today. He was scared, but I fixed him up. That's what matters, right? Knowing I made someone's day a little better. He hit send and leaned back. Through his window, stars drifted past as the ship traveled through space. Somewhere out there, alien empires plotted and planned. But here, in this moment, Hyunwoo was simply a doctor who had done his job well. In the Vraxian command center, Melesh added the final touches to his report. Conclusion, he read aloud. Humans possess a warrior caste designated Doc, who operate outside normal military hierarchy. These individuals are highly feared and respected. Recommend extreme caution in any military engagement until we understand their capabilities fully. Rekis approved the report with a sharp nod. Send this to all fleet commanders. If we encounter humans in combat, the Doc units are priority targets. Eliminate them first and human forces will crumble. The order went out across the Vraxian Empire. Every ship captain, every ground commander received the same warning. Beware of Doc. None of them knew they were preparing to fight medics. The Galactic Council chamber was a massive structure, built to hold representatives from 100 different species. Today the air felt heavy with tension. Ambassador Jiwon sat calmly at the human delegation table, her hands folded neatly in front of her. She had been a diplomat for 15 years and knew how to read a room. This room was ready for a fight. Across the chamber, the Vraxian delegation sat in their seats like carved stone. Their leader, Tekros, was an old warrior with more scars than scales. He stared at Jiwon with unblinking eyes, waiting for his turn to speak. The council mediator, a floating creature from the Palathian species, opened the session. We gather today to discuss border disputes between human and Vraxian space. 3 incidents in the past month. Ships damaged. Lives lost. We must find peace. Tekros stood immediately. His voice boomed across the chamber. The humans expand too quickly. They claim systems that belong to older species. They ignore established boundaries. Jiwon remained seated, letting him speak. Lieutenant Minho, her aide, sat beside her, taking notes. He was young but sharp, and Jiwon trusted his judgment. They build stations in neutral zones, Tekros continued. They send military vessels into disputed areas. And when we respond, they act innocent. He pointed a clawed finger at the human delegation. Your species has been in space for barely a century. You do not understand how things work. Several other delegates murmured agreement. Humanity was new to galactic politics, and many older species resented their rapid expansion. Finally, Jiwon stood. She was smaller than most beings in the room, but she commanded attention nonetheless. The systems we occupy were uninhabited. We broke no treaties because no treaties existed for those regions. As for military vessels, we have the same right to protect our people as any other species. Protection? Tekros laughed to sound like rocks in a metal drum. Is that what you call it? We know about your military structure now. We know your secrets, Jiwon raised an eyebrow. Our military structure is not secret. It is public information. You hide your true warriors, Tekros said. You pretend to have normal ranks, but we have discovered your elite units. Minho leaned close to Jiwon and whispered something. Jiwon's lips curved into a slight smile. I assure you, Commander Tekros, we hide nothing. Our military operates according to clear regulations available to anyone who asks. Then explain, Doc, Tekros demanded. The chamber fell silent. Jiwon looked genuinely confused. Explain what? Do not play games, Ambassador. We have intercepted your communications. We know about the warrior caste you call Doc. We know they answer to no rank and command fear from even your highest officers. Jiwon opened her mouth, then closed it. She turned to Minho, who looked equally puzzled. They held a whispered conversation while the council chamber waited. Commander Tekros, Jiwon said slowly, I think there may be a misunderstanding about... No misunderstanding. Tekros slammed his hand on the table. We have proof. Hundreds of communications. Your soldiers fear this dock more than enemy fire. Even your admirals obey without question. Jiwon took a breath. I assure you, our medical personnel are not... Do not insult our intelligence, Tekros interrupted. You may know your ranks, but you clearly do not understand our military culture, Jiwon said, echoing her earlier words. And that misunderstanding could lead to unnecessary conflict. The warning was clear in her tone. Tekros heard it and sat down, satisfied he had made his point. The session ended with nothing resolved, but with tensions higher than before. Back in Vraxian Intelligence Headquarters, Malesh worked late into the night. The diplomatic session had confirmed his suspicions. The humans were definitely hiding something about these dock units. Why else would their ambassador avoid directly answering questions about them? He pulled up more intercepted communications, searching for patterns. One message caught his attention, a personal log from a human marine. Doc was in a mood today. 3 of us caught space flu, and he made us sit through a lecture about hand washing. I swear nobody wants to disappoint Doc. Malesh added this to his file. A warrior who demanded perfect hygiene from his troops. This suggested discipline beyond normal military standards. Elite soldiers maintained their physical condition obsessively. This Doc was clearly training his unit to peak performance. Another message, this one from a ship captain. Medical supplies running low. Doc says if I don't get the shipment here by next week, he'll file a formal complaint. I believe him. That man does not make empty threats, Malesh highlighted this one. Here was proof that Doc could go over the heads of ship captains. What authority allowed this? What made these warriors so powerful that normal command structure did not apply to them? Meanwhile, aboard the Indomitable, the source of all this confusion sat in the ship's small medical bay, extremely annoyed. Doc Hyunwoo stared at the supply manifest with growing frustration. The ship's canteen had somehow used up the entire month's supply of coffee in 2 weeks. Not just coffee, the good coffee, the real stuff from Earth, not the synthetic substitutes. And now he had to drink terrible replicated coffee while dealing with the 3rd outbreak of space flu this month. This is unacceptable, he muttered, typing a strongly worded message to the supply officer. A Marine entered the bay, Corporal Jaewon holding his arm carefully. Doc, got time? Hyunwoo looked up, his irritation vanishing instantly. Of course. What happened? Caught my arm in a maintenance panel. Nothing serious, but it's bleeding pretty good. Sit down. Hyunwoo pulled on fresh gloves and examined the injury. It was a clean cut, not too deep. You're lucky. A few centimeters to the left and you would have hit the main artery. Jaewon paled. Really? Really? Hold still. Hyunwoo cleaned the wound, working with quick efficiency. His earlier frustration about coffee seemed petty now. This was what mattered. This young man needed help and Hyunwoo could provide it. Doc, can I ask you something? Jaewon said. Sure. Why did you join the military? You could make more money in a civilian hospital, right? Hyunwoo thought about this while he bandaged the arm. Money is not everything. Here I feel like I make a real difference. These are people who risk their lives protecting others. The least I can do is make sure they come home healthy. But you don't like the military stuff. The ranks and regulations and all that. True, Hyunwoo admitted with a smile. But I do not need to like regulations to care about people. You are not a soldier to me, Jaewon. You are a patient. And every patient deserves the best care I can give. Jaewon left the medical bay feeling better in more ways than one. He passed several other Marines in the corridor and told them about his visit. Doc fixed me up. Guy's amazing. He was in a bad mood earlier, but he still treated me like I was his only patient. The other Marines nodded knowingly. Everyone respected Doc. When you were hurt or sick, Doc was the person you wanted to see. He never made you feel stupid or weak. He just fixed the problem and sent you on your way. But one of the Marines sent a message to a friend on another ship. Doc's in a bad mood. Someone messed up his coffee supply. We're all being extra careful. That message was intercepted by Vraxian intelligence. Malesh read it with interest. Doc in a bad mood suggested these warriors had volatile temperaments. And something about coffee, that stimulant substance, seemed important to their combat effectiveness. He made a note to research human stimulant use in military operations. In the Vraxian war room, Commander Vrekus reviewed the diplomatic session recordings. He did not like what he saw. The human ambassador had seemed genuinely confused about questions regarding Doc, but that could be an act. Humans were known for their deception. What if these Doc units are so secret that even their diplomats do not know about them? He suggested to his staff. That would suggest a very compartmentalized command structure, one officer replied, or a very dangerous weapon they want to keep. Hidden, another added. Vrekus made a decision. Increase our military presence on the border. I want every ship on alert. If we encounter humans, we target their Doc units first. Without them, human forces should be easier to defeat. Orders went out. Vraxian ships moved into position. The border between human and Vraxian space grew more crowded and more dangerous with each passing day. Back on Earth, Hyunwoo's mother sent him another message. Your sister is getting married next spring. You must come home for the wedding. No excuses. You work too hard, son. Take a break. Hyunwoo smiled at the message. He would try to get leave for the wedding. Family was important, but for now, he had patients to care for and a ship full of people depending on him to keep them healthy. He had no idea that alien empires were mobilizing fleets because they thought he was a deadly warrior. He was just a doctor trying to do his job. The medical transport ship Mercy moved slowly through space, carrying crucial supplies to a border colony. Commander Subin sat in the captain's chair, reviewing navigation charts. The route took them close to the Vraxian border, but it was the fastest way to reach the colony and people there needed medicine desperately. Commander, her navigation officer called out. 3 Vraxian patrol ships approaching. Subin straightened in her chair. Put them on screen. The Vraxian ships appeared, weapons charged but not locked. This could be routine or it could turn dangerous very quickly. Subin had been a military officer for 20 years and knew how to read situations like this. Open a channel, she ordered. The face of a Vraxian captain appeared on screen. His scales were dark green, marked with military insignia. Human vessel, you are close to Vraxian space. State your purpose. This is Commander Subin of the Medical Transport Mercy. We are carrying medical supplies to a human colony. Our route is registered with the Galactic Council. We mean no threat. The Vraxian captain seemed to consult with someone off-screen. When he turned back, his expression had changed. Harder, more aggressive. We know what your ship carries, he said. You will surrender Doc to us for interrogation. Do this and you may continue, Subin blinked. I am sorry, what? Do not play ignorant. We know you transport a Doc unit. Surrender this warrior to us. Subin looked at her first officer, Lieutenant Kyungmin, who looked equally confused. You want our medical officer? Your deception will not work, human. We have studied your military structure. We know what Doc units are. Surrender this individual now. Subin's confusion turned to anger. She did not know what game the Vraxians were playing, but she did not surrender crew members. Ever. I do not know what you think you know about human military structure, but you are mistaken, and I will not surrender any member of my crew. The Vraxian captain's eyes narrowed. Then we will board your vessel and take this warrior by force. This is a medical transport, Subin said, keeping her voice level despite her rising anger. We are protected under Galactic Council regulations. Boarding us would be an act of war. Your protection does not extend to secret military assets, the Vraxian responded. Prepare to be boarded. Subin cut the communication and turned to her crew. Battle stations. Medical teams secure all patients and supplies. Kyungmin, wake Doc. Tell him we have a situation. In the ship's medical bay, Doc Hyunwoo had been performing surgery for the past 12 hours. A colonist from their last stop had suffered severe internal injuries in an industrial accident. The surgery was delicate, complicated, and exhausting. But Hyunwoo had saved the man's life, and that made every minute worth it. He was just finishing the final sutures when Lieutenant Kyungmin entered the surgical suite. "Doc, we have a problem." "Give me 2 minutes," Hyunwoo said, not looking up from his work. "Almost done here." Kyungmin waited, watching the doctor work with practiced precision. Finally, Hyunwoo stepped back, pulled off his bloody gloves, and checked the patient's vital signs one more time. "He will be fine," Hyunwoo said, satisfaction in his voice. "What is the problem?" "Vraxians are boarding us. Something about demanding we surrender you." Hyunwoo blinked, processing this information. "Surrender me? Why?" "No idea. But Commander Subin thought you should know." Hyunwoo looked down at his surgical scrubs covered in blood from the operation. He looked at his patient, unconscious but stable. He looked at the surgical bay, perfectly organized and sterile after hours of work. Then he sighed deeply. "Let me change clothes and—" The ship shuddered. The Vraxians had attached boarding tubes to the hull. "No time," Kyungmin said. "They are coming in now." Hyunwoo did not change. He walked toward the bridge, still wearing his surgical scrubs, exhausted but alert. Whatever was happening, he needed to understand it. On the bridge, Commander Subin watched as Vraxian soldiers entered her ship. They moved aggressively, scanning everything with their weapons ready. They were treating this like a military raid, not a customs inspection. "This is outrageous," Subin said. "You have no right, we have every right," the Vraxian captain said, now aboard with his soldiers. "We seek the individual called Doc. Where is this warrior?" "I am right here," a tired voice said from behind them. Everyone turned. Doc Hyunwoo stood there, thin and tired, wearing blood-stained surgical scrubs. His hair was messy, his eyes were bloodshot from lack of sleep, and he had the exhausted look of someone who had just finished saving a life. The Vraxian soldiers stared at him. This was not what they expected. Their intelligence had described Doc units as fearsome warriors, elite soldiers who commanded respect through power. This human looked like he might fall asleep standing up. "You are Doc?" the Vraxian captain asked, doubt clear in his voice. "I am Dr. Hyunwoo, chief medical officer of this vessel." "Yes, everyone calls me Doc. What is this about?" The Vraxian captain gestured to his soldiers. "Search the ship." "This cannot be the right individual." "Wait," Hyunwoo said. But the soldiers were already moving. They stormed through the ship, checking every room, every corridor. They entered the medical bay roughly, pushing past nurses and medics. They scanned equipment, opened storage containers, and contaminated sterile fields with their careless movements. In the surgical suite, one soldier knocked over a tray of sterilized instruments. They clattered to the floor, no longer safe to use. Another soldier pushed aside a nurse who was monitoring the post-operative patient, causing vital sign monitors to disconnect. Hyunwoo watched all of this from the bridge on the security monitors. His tired expression slowly changed. His eyes, which had been kind and gentle, turned cold. "They are contaminating my surgical bay," he said quietly. Commander Subin saw his expression and felt a chill. She had served with Doc for 3 years. She had never seen him angry, not once, but she was seeing it now. "Doc," she started to say. "They are contaminating my surgical bay," Hyunwoo repeated, his voice harder. "I have a patient in recovery. I have sterile equipment. They are putting lives at risk." He turned and walked off the bridge, moving with purpose. Commander Subin and Lieutenant Kyungmin followed, along with the Vraxian captain. They found Hyunwoo standing in the entrance to the medical bay. The Vraxian soldiers were still searching, still making a mess. Hyunwoo's hands were clenched into fists. "Get out," he said. The soldiers ignored him. One of them was examining the post-operative patient, poking at monitoring equipment he did not understand. "Get out." Hyunwoo's voice was ice. The Vraxian captain laughed. "You have no authority here, human. We are conducting a military—" "I am the chief medical officer of this vessel," Hyunwoo interrupted, his voice sharp as a scalpel. "Under Galactic Council medical protocols, specifically Article 12, Section 4, I have absolute authority over all medical spaces during active patient care. You have contaminated a sterile surgical environment. You have interfered with post-operative patient monitoring. You have violated medical safety protocols." He stepped forward, and somehow, despite being smaller and unarmed, he seemed dangerous. "You are now under medical quarantine for potential biological contamination, all of you." You will submit to medical examination and decontamination procedures. This is not optional. The Varaxian captain stared at him. You cannot be serious. I have a patient in critical condition who just underwent major surgery. You have exposed him to potential infection by contaminating his surgical environment. Yes, I am serious. Deadly serious, Commander Subin spoke up. Doc has the authority. Medical regulation supersedes military command in situations involving patient safety. I cannot overrule him even if I wanted to. This is ridiculous, the Varaxian captain said. We are conducting a military operation. You are now medical patients under quarantine, Hyunwoo said flatly. Security, escort these individuals to Isolation Ward 3. If they resist, they will be sedated for their own safety and the safety of others. Human Marines appeared, weapons ready. The Varaxian soldiers outnumbered them, but they hesitated. This was not the combat scenario they had prepared for. They had come looking for warriors and found a doctor. A very angry doctor. You cannot do this, the Varaxian captain said, but his voice was uncertain. I can, I am, and I will, Hyunwoo replied. You have two choices. Walk to the isolation ward voluntarily, or be carried there sedated. Choose now. The Varaxian captain looked at his soldiers, at the human Marines, and at this thin, tired doctor who somehow commanded the entire situation. He had no idea what was happening, but he recognized when he had lost control. We will comply, he said stiffly, under protest. Your protest is noted, Hyunwoo said. Now move. I have a patient to check on, and you have delayed me long enough. The Varaxians were escorted to the isolation ward. Once there, Hyunwoo subjected them to the most thorough medical examination any of them had ever experienced. Blood draws, tissue samples, full-body scans, decontamination showers that were technically safe but deeply uncomfortable. Every procedure was medically necessary and completely justified given the contamination they had caused. But the Varaxians had never experienced anything like it. In their culture, the wounded were abandoned. Medical care was minimal. The idea of someone having the authority to force medical procedures on them was alien and terrifying. Throughout it all, Hyunwoo remained calm, professional. The Galactic Council emergency session was called within 24 hours. The Varaxian delegation arrived demanding justice. Their soldiers had been held captive and subjected to what they called cruel procedures. The human delegation arrived confused, carrying full medical records showing every procedure had been standard and necessary. Ambassador Jiwon sat at the human table, reading through the incident reports from Commander Subin. Next to her, Lieutenant Minho tried very hard not to laugh. They really thought Doc was a warrior, he whispered. Apparently, Jiwon replied quietly, and now we have a diplomatic crisis because a medical officer did his job. The Varaxian delegate Tekros stood to present his case. Behind him, several of the soldiers from the Mercy incident sat looking traumatized. One of them kept rubbing his arm where Hyunwoo had drawn blood. The humans tortured our soldiers, Tekros announced. For hours, this individual called Doc subjected them to invasive procedures, painful treatments, and psychological torment. We have witnesses. The council mediator turned to Jiwon. Ambassador, how do you respond? Jiwon stood calmly. We have complete medical records from the incident. Every procedure performed was standard medical protocol, following potential biological contamination. Dr. Hyunwoo acted within his authority and within Galactic Council medical regulations. Lies, one of the Varaxian soldiers shouted. He was merciless. He showed no emotion. He did things to us. The soldier stopped shuddering. What things? The mediator asked gently. The soldier struggled to speak. He inserted instruments into. He took samples from. The soldier could not continue. Minho leaned toward Jiwon. I think he is talking about the colonoscopy. Medical procedure, Jiwon said to the council. Standard test for intestinal contamination. Uncomfortable but harmless, meaning he pierced our skin repeatedly. Another Varaxian soldier added. Blood draws, Jiwon explained. Also standard procedure. He forced us into chambers filled with chemicals. Decontamination showers. Required after exposure to surgical environments. Tekros slammed his hand on the table. You torture our soldiers and then hide behind medical terminology. We performed necessary medical procedures on individuals who contaminated a sterile surgical environment where a critical patient was recovering, Jiwon said firmly. This is not torture. This is medicine. The debate continued for hours. Other species weighed in. Some understood human medical practices. Others found them strange but acceptable. The Vraxians remained convinced they had been attacked by a secret warrior caste. During a recess, Jiwan contacted Admiral Borum, commander of the human border fleet. "We have a problem." Borum's face appeared on the secure channel. "I have been reading the reports. This is insane. They genuinely believe our medics are elite warriors," Jiwan said. "They have been intercepting our communications and misinterpreting everything. When soldiers say Doc will be angry, they think it is a combat threat, not a medical officer concerned about health violations." "How did this happen?" Borum asked. "Cultural differences," Lieutenant Minho offered. "Vraxians abandon their wounded. They have minimal medical care. The idea of taking doctors into combat, of giving medical personnel authority over military operations, it does not exist in their culture. They cannot comprehend it, so they invented an explanation that makes sense to them." Borum rubbed her temples. "So they think we have secret super soldiers, and they are mobilizing their fleet because a medic gave them routine medical exams?" "That is the situation," Jiwan confirmed. "This would be funny if it was not so dangerous," Borum said. "What do we do?" "I have an idea," Jiwan said slowly. "But it is risky." Meanwhile, across the galaxy in Vraxian space, the soldiers from the Mercy incident were being debriefed. Military psychologists tried to understand what happened, but the soldiers' reports only confirmed existing fears. "He was cold," one soldier reported. "No mercy. No hesitation. He did whatever he wanted to us, and no one could stop him. Even their own commander obeyed him without question." "Did he threaten you?" the psychologist asked. "He did not need to threaten. His authority was absolute. When he gave an order, everyone obeyed instantly." Another soldier added, "He explained everything he was doing, but the explanations made it worse. He described every procedure in detail, told us exactly what would happen. It was like he enjoyed our fear." The psychologist made notes. This matched the profile of elite warriors in many cultures. Calm under pressure. Total authority. Psychological warfare through detailed threats. The Vraxians had no framework for understanding that Yunwu was simply being a good doctor, explaining procedures to reduce patient anxiety. Commander Vrekus received the psychological reports and made his decision. "The humans are more dangerous than we thought. These doc units are psychological warfare specialists. They torture without physical harm, leaving no evidence but deep trauma." He turned to his war council. "We must strike first, before they can deploy more of these units against us." The Vraxian fleet began to mobilize fully. Ships moved toward human space. Weapons were charged. Soldiers prepared for combat. In human space, Admiral Borum watched the fleet movements with growing concern. "They are preparing for war," her tactical officer nodded. "Estimates show they will reach our border within 3 days. And all because they think our medics are secret weapons," Borum said, shaking her head. She looked at the communication from Ambassador Jiwan outlining her plan. It was risky. It required perfect timing, but it might be their only chance to avoid a war based on complete misunderstanding. "Get me Dr. Hyunwoo," Borum ordered, "and tell him to pack a bag. He is about to become a diplomat." On the medical transport Mercy, Hyunwoo was finishing his check on the colonist who had survived surgery. The man was recovering well. "Vital signs stable, infection markers negative. How are you feeling?" Hyunwoo asked. "Much better, Doc, thanks to you." Hyunwoo smiled. "Just doing my job." "You gave me a good challenge, though." "That was a complex surgery. I heard you also dealt with some Vraxian soldiers." Hyunwoo's smile faded. "I did what was necessary. They contaminated my surgical bay. They put you at risk. I could not allow that. I heard you scared them pretty good. I did not mean to scare anyone. I just enforced medical protocols." Hyunwoo checked the IV drip, made a note on his tablet. "But between you and me, I might have been a bit harsh. I was tired and frustrated and worried about your recovery. Not my best moment as a doctor." A message alert interrupted them. Hyunwoo checked his tablet and frowned. "I have been summoned to a meeting with Admiral Borum. Apparently there is a diplomatic situation." "Sounds important, Doc." "Probably just paperwork about the incident. Nothing exciting." Hyunwoo had no idea how wrong he was. 2 days later, Hyunwoo found himself on a shuttle heading to a neutral space station for diplomatic negotiations. He sat in his dress uniform, uncomfortable and confused. Admiral Borum had explained the situation, but he still could not quite believe it. "They think I am a what?" he had asked. "An elite warrior, a secret super soldier, a psychological warfare specialist," Borum had explained. "But I am a doctor. We know that. They do not. And we need to show them, not tell them." Now Hyunwoo sat across from Lieutenant Minho, who was briefing him on diplomatic protocols. "Just be yourself, Doc. That is the plan. Be a doctor and they will understand." "What if they do not understand?" Hyunwoo asked nervously. "Then we will deal with that problem when we come to it," Minho said. "But Ambassador Jiwan believes this will work. And she is usually right about these things." The shuttle docked at the neutral station. Hyunwoo followed Minho through corridors filled with representatives from dozens of species. He felt completely out of his depth. He was a doctor, not a diplomat. He belonged in a medical bay, not a negotiation chamber. But as they entered the main hall and he saw the Vraxian delegation, something changed. He recognized the soldiers from the Mercy. He remembered their fear, their confusion, and he understood suddenly what had happened. They were afraid of him because they did not understand him. They had no context for what he did or why he did it. To them, medical care looked like torture because they had never experienced real health care. Hyunwoo took a deep breath and stepped forward. He was not a diplomat or a warrior. He was a doctor. And maybe, just maybe, that was exactly what the situation needed. The neutral station's meeting hall was large and cold. Hyunwoo stood beside Admiral Borum, feeling very small among all these military officers and diplomats. Across the room, the Vraxian delegation entered. Commander Vrekus led them, followed by soldiers and advisors. And behind them, carried on stretchers, came several wounded Vraxian soldiers. Hyunwoo's professional instincts kicked in immediately. He could see their injuries from across the room: burns, broken bones. One soldier had a field bandage that was already soaked through with blood. These soldiers needed help badly. "Admiral," he said quietly, "those soldiers are seriously injured." "I know," Borum replied. "That is why they brought them. Part of the plan." Ambassador Jiwan stepped forward to address both delegations. "Thank you all for coming. We are here because of a dangerous misunderstanding. The Vraxian Empire believes humanity possesses secret warrior units designated DOC. We are here to show the truth." Commander Vrekus spoke, his voice hard. "Show us your warrior. We know you brought him," Jiwan gestured to Hyunwoo. "This is Dr. Hunwoo, Chief Medical Officer of the transport ship Mercy. He is the individual your soldiers encountered." The Vraxian soldiers from the Mercy incident stirred nervously. Hyunwoo noticed their discomfort and felt guilty. He had not meant to traumatize them. He had just been doing his job, maybe too aggressively because he was tired and worried about his patient. Vrekus studied Hyunwoo carefully. "This is the one? He looks weak. I am not a warrior," Hyunwoo said quietly. "I am a doctor. I fix people. I do not fight them. You tortured our soldiers. I examined them medically after they contaminated a sterile surgical environment," Hyunwoo corrected. "Every procedure was necessary and standard. I am sorry if I frightened them. That was not my intention." Vrekus did not look convinced. "You command authority greater than ship captains. Even admirals defer to you. This is not normal medical personnel." Admiral Borum spoke up.
In human military culture, medical personnel have special authority in situations involving health and safety.
"This is because we value life. Every life. We do not abandon our wounded." "Neither do we," Vrekus said defensively. "Then why did you bring wounded soldiers here without treating them properly?" Hyunwoo asked. The question came out before he could stop himself. But now that he had spoken, he continued. "That soldier there, the one with the chest wound, he needs immediate treatment. The bandage is not holding. And that one with the leg injury, I can see the bone is set wrong. It will heal incorrectly if not fixed soon." Vrekus stared at him. "How can you see that from this distance?" "I am a doctor. I notice injuries. It is my job." Hyunwoo took a step forward, then stopped. "May I help them, please?" The room fell silent. The Vraxian soldiers looked at each other, confused. Their wounded comrades lay on stretchers, obviously in pain, and this human, this supposed warrior, was asking to help them. "Why?" Vrekus asked suspiciously. "Because they are hurt," Hyunwoo said simply. "Because I can help. Because that is what doctors do." "It could be a trick," one of Vrekus's advisors whispered. But Hyunwoo was not paying attention to the politics anymore. He saw the soldier with the chest wound struggling to breathe. Medical need overrode everything else. He walked forward, ignoring the protests from both sides. "Sir, you are losing blood," he said gently to the wounded Vraxian. "I need to check that bandage, may I?" The wounded soldier looked at his commander, uncertain. Vrikis nodded slowly, curious to see what would happen. Hyunwoo knelt beside the stretcher and carefully peeled back the bandage. The wound underneath was infected, poorly cleaned. "This needs proper treatment." "When did this happen?" 3 days ago, the soldier said weakly. "Battle training accident, 3 days. Hyunwoo's voice rose in concern. "And no one treated it properly? You have an infection starting. This is dangerous." He looked up at Rekis. "I need medical supplies. My kit is on the shuttle. Can someone get it?" Admiral Borum nodded to Lieutenant Minho, who hurried out. Hyunwoo turned back to the wounded soldier, already assessing what needed to be done. "What is your name?" he asked gently. "Kreshik." "Okay, Kreshik. I am going to help you. Some of this will hurt, but I will be as gentle as I can. Is that acceptable?" Kreshik looked at this human with confusion. No one had ever asked his permission before treating him. In Vraxian culture, the wounded were handled roughly if they were handled at all. "Why do you ask?" "Because you are a person and you deserve to have a say in your medical care," Hyunwoo said. "Unless you are unconscious or unable to consent, I always ask." Minho returned with the medical kit. Hyunwoo opened it and began working. His hands moved with practiced skill, cleaning the wound, applying antibiotic, placing a proper bandage. He explained each step as he worked, his voice calm and reassuring. "This will sting a bit. The antibiotic is working to stop the infection. You should feel better soon. The pain medicine I am giving you is fast-acting. Tell me when it starts working." The other delegates watched in silence as Hyunwoo moved from one wounded soldier to the next. The one with the broken leg, the one with burns, another with a concussion. He treated each one with the same gentle efficiency, never rushing, never showing frustration. When he reached the soldier with the improperly set leg, he shook his head. "This will need to be rebroken and set correctly. I can do it here, but it will hurt even with pain medicine. Or you can come to a human medical facility where we can do it properly under anesthesia." "Rebroken?" the soldier asked fearfully. "If we leave it like this, you will have pain for the rest of your life. You will walk with a severe limp. But if we fix it now, you will heal correctly." Hyunwoo met the soldier's eyes. "I know it sounds scary, but I promise I will take care of you. You will not suffer unnecessarily." The soldier looked at Commander Rekis, who was watching everything with an expression that was hard to read. "Do it," Rekis said quietly. "Trust the human doctor." What happened next made several delegates turn away. Hyunwoo worked quickly and efficiently, and despite his promises, it clearly hurt. But he talked the soldier through it, never stopping his gentle explanations, and when it was done, the leg was properly aligned. "The worst is over," Hyunwoo said, securing a proper splint. "You will need a cast and physical therapy, but you will walk normally again. I promise." The soldier, tears in his eyes from pain, nodded silently. When Hyunwoo finished with the last patient, he stood up and realized everyone was staring at him. He suddenly felt self-conscious. "I am sorry. I know we were supposed to be talking about diplomatic matters, but they needed help." Ambassador Jiwon smiled slightly. "I think you just solved our diplomatic matter, Doctor." Commander Rekis approached slowly. He looked at his soldiers, all properly treated now, resting more comfortably than they had in days. He looked at Hyunwoo, this thin human with kind eyes and bloody hands. "You are not a warrior," Rekis said slowly. "No, Commander. I am a doctor. But your own soldiers fear you. They obey you without question." "They do not fear me," Hyunwoo said. "They trust me. There is a difference. When a soldier is hurt or sick, they trust that I will do everything possible to help them. Sometimes that means giving orders that override other concerns. Not because I'm powerful, but because in those moments health and life are the most important things. You have authority over admirals." Admiral Borum spoke up. "In medical situations, yes. Because we decided as a culture that preserving life is more important than military hierarchy. If Doc says a soldier is too sick to fight, that soldier does not fight. If Doc says we need medical supplies, we get medical supplies. If Doc says a mission is too dangerous to crew health, we reconsider the mission." "This is strange to us," Rekis admitted. "We do not give such power to healers." "Do you have healers?" Hyunwoo asked. The question hung in the air. Rekis did not answer immediately. We have medical technicians. They treat injuries when possible, but most wounded die or recover on their own. That is terrible, Hyunwoo said softly. Every person deserves medical care. Every life is worth fighting for, even enemy lives? Frakes asked pointedly. Yes, Hyunwoo said without hesitation, even enemy lives. If a Vraxian soldier was brought to my medical bay, I would treat them the same as a human soldier. Medical ethics do not care about politics. Frakes was quiet for a long moment. Then he turned to his advisors. Our intelligence was wrong. These doc individuals are not warriors. They are healers who are treated like warriors because humans value healing. One of the soldiers from the Mercy incident spoke up hesitantly. Then the procedures he performed on us were truly medical. They were necessary because you contaminated a surgical environment, Hyunwoo explained. I am sorry I was harsh with you. I had just spent 12 hours saving a patient's life and I was worried about his safety. But I should not have let my frustration make you afraid. That was wrong of me. The soldier stared at him. You apologize? To us? Of course. I am a doctor, not a perfect person. I made you unnecessarily frightened. That is not good medical practice. The Vraxian soldiers looked at each other, a silent communication passing between them. Finally, one spoke. We apologize for contaminating your medical space. We did not understand what we were doing. Apology accepted, Hyunwoo said with a smile. The diplomatic session concluded peacefully. The misunderstanding was resolved. The Vraxian fleet stood down.